Good evening and welcome to the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship Lobby B, sponsored by Player1 Sim Gear. My name is George Cooke and it is my absolute pleasure to be with you tonight in the commentary booth for the start of this exciting new season. The inaugural race of the GT3 Championship held tonight at a cloudy Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit in Germany for 60 minutes. In one of my personal favorite group classes, Group 3, and we will be covering the silver and bronze championship categories with all the pomp and circumstance that I can muster. And it's going to be an extremely exciting race tonight, folks. Please, please enjoy yourselves. Strap yourselves in. Make sure you've got some form of beverage. We're going to be running shortly in about 25-ish minutes into our 20-minute qualifying session, the start of this amazing, amazing championship. A pilot season has been held for the GT3 Championship prior to this, and we will be taking you folks through all the teams and drivers who are going to be participating this time around. We've got about 9 or 10 different tracks available throughout the entire season. And we will be going through every single one of those. A little bit of information to get through. I've had quite a bit of information sent my way to do the commentary, which has been excellent. So looking forward very much to bringing you the action when we get on track. And beforehand, I will be, as I said before, taking you through and making sure you're all up to date with what is in store for this amazing, amazing race league. But before we get into all of that, I must do two things. First is an apology for the quality of my voice. I've been battling the COVID, and so my voice is definitely not what I hope it to be at this stage. So you'll have to forgive me for that. I do have the mute button handy for any hawks and things that may end up happening during the presentation. And the second thing is we're going to have a quick word from our sponsor, Player1 Sim Gear.
Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 Sim Gear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series.
And a big thank you to the series sponsor, Player1. Player1 Sim Gear, created by sim enthusiasts for sim enthusiasts. A Melbourne-based and 100% Australia-owned and operated company. When Player1 launched, they set out to create an online destination for racers, flight simmers, and all other kinds of sim racers to shop for all the best hardware and brands at the best prices. Feedback is appreciated, but they are very passionate about giving back and supporting the local flight and racing communities, and have happily chipped in to help provide a prize for each division driver champion, some vouchers. For more information and to visit their beautiful website, you can visit www.p1simgear.com.au, proudly sponsoring the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship. Excellent, and as we watch these beautiful scenes from a very, very cloudy Nurburgring, we will take you guys through a little bit of information about this fantastic track. 13 turns, a distance of 5.198 kilometers. We will be racing in the afternoon today, but a 20-minute qualifying to come first before our 60-minute race. There are actually 4 categories across 2 different lobbies happening for the GT3 Championship. We have our Platinum and Gold Championships in Lobby A, and in Lobby B, which is what we're in at the moment, Group B, we are going to be following our Silver Championship and Bronze Championship. 7 teams participating in the GT3 Championship, with some privateers in each of the lobbies to round things out. 4 drivers for each team, 1 each for each of the categories, as I've mentioned as before. But 13 turns here at the beautiful Nürburgring Grand Prix track, 4 sectors for us to go through, the longest straight being about 0.39 miles, the pit straight. Lots of tricky corners to handle here in the Group 3 cars, and you'll be relying quite significantly on the aero of the car and, of course, the handling skills of our incredible race drivers. The team's working very hard to make sure that they are ready for tonight. and all the subsequent races in the season, working hard to arrange their liveries, get their drivers up to speed and putting in the best times they possibly can. 60 minutes is no small feat to be going through at the Nurburgring GP. As mentioned before, 13 primary corners, turn 1 being one of the trickiest ones, into a series of corners, a series of left-handed corners, which will indeed make it a challenge for some cars around here, though the Group 3 class does have a significant amount of aero to fall back on. Racing mediums being provided for the teams across the entire race. They have to use the racing mediums, but they can use as many sets as they would like. So we will end up seeing a fair number of pit stops during this race, I suspect, depending on how much the tires are used by each individual car. The teams, of course, are locked into a car choice for the entire season, and I will be taking you folks through that shortly. Some uphill and downhill sections around the rest of the track, which can make it quite tricky on the braking zones. But if you get those right, lots of straights to take advantage of a good exit, especially out of turn 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. The tricky chicane at the turn 13 and 14 rounding out the penultimate corners at Nürburgring GP. I'm expecting to see some overtakes into those hard braking zones. The track does go from wide at the start and sort of tails off and gets a little bit tighter and tighter throughout the track, widening on the straights, getting a lot tighter in the corners. So it'll be good to see if there'll be any overtaking opportunities during those wider sections or even those shorter sections. Some famous corners here, of course, as well, such as the Schumacher S's. That'll be turn 10 and turn 11. And we will see if the drivers can handle it. Some cars in this league will chew up the curbs and some will not enjoy it at all. Of course, Gran Turismo 7 providing a fantastic platform for this league to take place on. Just a quick note to everyone in chat. I appreciate you being in here. I will be ignoring you for the majority of the race, as this is not an interactive stream. This is a commentary stream from the commentary booth. And another big thank you to the organizers of MotorMotion E-Series for inviting me to commentate tonight. It's my absolute pleasure to be here with you all. I will be also managing the adverts as much as possible to make sure that everyone is able to watch. And so on that note, we will be shortly jumping into a long-ish advert to try and build up some time to make sure we get no interruptions during our 60-minute race. Some information for you folks on the teams, and I will be taking a moment to bring up, we've got quite a lot of information on these teams. A fantastic job by the organizers to provide such good information about everyone participating. Starting off with Scarborough Motorsport, who have chosen the Porsche 911 RSR. Two drivers will be focusing on today. Matthew Joinson, Peely Black Friday, in the silver category, and their teammate in the bronze category, Dylan Scarborough, that's Marty McFarty. Sponsors of the team, JB Hi-Fi and Nulon, with the team owner being Dylan Scarborough, who will be in this lobby. Scarborough Motorsport will be using this championship to cement foundations of a successful rebuild. Previously partnered with Juice Motorsports, bringing over Matthew Joinson, actually, to drive in the Pro-Am division, the silver category. Some very, very good drivers in their top category as well. And it will be an interesting challenge here with the Porsche 911 RSR. It is an MR spec car. Very, very dodgy on the rear end if you get the power down too early. But if you can get the power down, it is one of the faster cars on the grid. Black Rose Racing choosing the Mercedes AMG. Our silver category driver there is Matt Kutcher, Kutch 426. And the bronze category driver is Troy Britnell, Brits Lightning 55. Sponsored by Inky and Chill Out. The team owner, James Lee, is a non-driver. Black Rose Motorsports, so it's no surprise when they were allocated level 1 RCA, the team owner James Lee was earmarked to potentially race for the team before withdrawing, unfortunately, prior to the opening of the categories. They filled the seats with some fantastic drivers in the pro category, but hoping to see some excellent results from the silver and bronze category drivers as well. Participating in the Pilot Championship as well, they had a bit of a frustrating time and looking to make an impressive comeback with the start of the official GT3 Season 1. World Touring Championship Racing, WTC-R. Some drivers in here with names that we will recognize. Sporting the Jaguar F-Type Group 3 car. Our silver category driver from that team, Dean van der Zandt, IMAT 99548. And the bronze category driver, Chris White, Flighty Whitey. Sponsored by Goodyear and Mobil One, some big names in there. And the team owner being Wade Von Duve, also known as Slapper's Mate 117, who we know quite well from other series that we have commentated on. WTCC has wasted no time in recruiting drivers after being promoted to the top division. Ozzie Taylor will drive for them in the pro category. That is the gold category for us. With some interesting debutants as well in the AM class. Chris White. The next team to talk about here is NED Racing, choosing the Aston Martin V12 Vantage. Our silver category driver, Monica Camilleri, Super VT 2000. One of two female drivers on the grid. In fact, one of two female drivers in the team. In the bronze category, Karma Foster, known as Rolls _ 2.0. And she will also be making a debut here at the GT3 Championship. Sponsors for the team, Ned Whiskey and Penrite, with the team owner, Joel Austin, who I believe is over in the Lobby A, commentating on the platinum and the gold categories. NED Racing have been fresh into the new championship season with a team's title victory in the Supercars League, also run by MotorMotion E-Series. And they mean business when they come through into the GT3 Championship. Some natural talents in the cockpit. Lewis Atkinson, also known as HC Lewis, who's a well-known name in the GT7 community. He'll be linking up with several other drivers for the Lobby A race. And just a quick note, we have had the rookie 088 or 098. He's got a few numbers that we know about. And unfortunately, we did hear that his PlayStation 4 has broken at the last minute, which is an absolute disaster. He was one of our privateers, who we'll get to very, very soon. Replaced by a new member of the squad, Chops 1986, Sean Parker, who will be his privateer replacement for the Lobby B here. So the rookie, we hope that your PlayStation 4 gets fixed as soon as possible. Moving right along, Diffusion Race Engineering, our next team to talk about. A New Zealand team, in fact. Sporting the BMW M6, a lovely car that. The silver category driver, Aidan Sampson, Hellblazer. And in the bronze category, Richard Robinson. Of course, as a Kiwi commentator, I can't help but put my chips in their basket. I hope they do well today. I hope all the teams do well today. But of course, as a Kiwi, I have to be a little bit biased. Both Australian and New Zealand teams making a showing here at the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship. Richard Robinson officially joining from Scarborough Motorsport after already racing for Diffusion during Supercars. Robinson being allocated into the bronze category, and the team boss Aidan Sampson will be racing in the same group as the top drivers in the lobbies. Robert Foster also being linked, who's the platinum driver for the team, being linked to NED Racing before Diffusion registered. And so Diffusion Race Engineering from New Zealand able to snag a few excellent drivers from other leagues in the preseason. team owner Aidan Sampson, and the sponsors are Spotify and Fuchs. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, because I don't want to pronounce it the other way. And last but not least, sorry, second to last, and certainly not least, Gridline Racing, also choosing the BMW M6, so 2 teams choosing the BMW M6. Some well-known names for us in this team as well. The silver category driver here, Jeff Bruin, Squirrel 18, also our race host tonight, and one of our stewards and administrators in the background doing some great work himself. The bronze category driver, Wade Rushton, the Rushfire, will be our bronze category driver for the team. A note here that the pilot AM category winner was actually Jeff Bruin, so congratulations to him. And the Pro Am pilot winner was GLR Scotty, who also happens to be the team owner, Scott Taylor. Sponsors of the team, Valvoline and Bosch. Gridline will be looking to slide under the radar this season, but have made some impressive signings that might make this difficult to achieve. Some big names in the Platinum League for themselves is Andrew Scott, Ando787, who we know well, and the team owner himself running in the gold category. Now, last but not least, Strike Race Tech, who have chosen the Mercedes AMG. Excellent choice for this racetrack, in my opinion, in this commentator's opinion. Very strong performing car around this circuit. Our silver category driver, Ricky Rick, Madrick 1972, and our bronze category driver, Tim Piers. The team owner, Shane Attard, is going to be racing in the gold categories. That's Lobby A. And the team sponsors are Strike and Recaro. Strike Racetech are new to the GT3 Championship, but they're boasting a driver lineup of familiar names, signing Nick Piers and partnering him with Attard once more to spearhead the team's Group A effort. Ricky Rick impressed enough with the recent Supercars series to secure a drive, while Tim Piers made a shock switch from Black Rose Racing. So lots of action happening between the teams in pre-season, shaking up the driver assignments between all 7 teams. Very much looking forward to checking out the beautiful liveries that will be sporting on track by all the teams. And now a mention over to our privateers. As I mentioned before, the rookie 98, who is in chat, unfortunately having his PlayStation 4 blow up and unable to participate in the league at the moment, being replaced instead by Chops 1986, Sean Parker, a privateer not associated with any teams, in there to shake up the field and make some magic happen for himself. 10 minutes and counting now to qualifying start, and the qualifying is 20 minutes here, folks. That will give the teams and drivers plenty of time to get out on track, get warmed up, and make their best qualifying lap possible. There will be a rolling start for the race at 60 minutes, and no false grid starts, no grid starts whatsoever. And that'll make it a nice, even getaway for most teams. And as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, we can see our F-types with IMAT, PLE Black Friday, and the 911 RSR. Chops 1983, in fact. So a small correction there. He's going to be in the Mercedes AMG GT3 as a privateer, so that's a good choice in my opinion for this particular race. The Mercedes has been a strong show at this particular track a lot of times. And only 3 Mercedes on the grid this time round. Sorry, correction on that again. There will be 5, I believe, Mercedes on the grid for this race. So big choice by the teams. The M6 BMW being another popular choice. Some comments already coming in chat regarding the liveries, fantastic liveries. And I appreciate all the comments in chat. Thank you so much, folks. I will be ignoring you quite significantly during the race. We will be watching the action on track and giving it to you with a live blow-to-blow commentary. And hopefully everyone will enjoy themselves. So make sure you go grab a cup of tea, get yourself ready, settle in with a blanket, get yourself ready in about 7 minutes, kicking off the 20 minutes of qualifying. Remember, folks, this is a sponsored league. MotorMotion E-Series sponsored by Player1 SimGear. Don't forget to go and check them out. You can type in the commands !MM and !P1 to get information and links to the respective league and sponsor. To bring you some information about the race before we kick things off into qualifying, the scheduled events here, they've been in practice, free practice, for the last 20-ish minutes. There'll be a roll call in about 1 or 2 minutes and a driver briefing commencing at that point. 5 minutes later, qualifying will commence for 20 minutes. And then we will have a quick rest break for 10 minutes. And the race beginning at 9:45 p.m. New Zealand time. Sorry, 10:45 p.m. New Zealand time, and that'll be 8:45 AEDT. Correction from earlier as well, 15 turns total, 13 significant turns, 15 total if you count them one by one, including the slightly less turny turns. C4 and cloudy in Germany today, and we run the lobbies with the actual weather in the country of origin of the track. In this case, Germany being rather cloudy and overcast. No rain forecast for the race. So we should be seeing dry conditions, but cold, so a lot of time will need to be taken by the drivers to make sure their tires are getting warmed up. You don't want to be taking any risks on lap 1, especially in a 60-minute endurance race. Maybe a bit of a challenge presented to them in qualifying to make sure that they can get their tires in the right zone to put in the best laps possible. Drivers having been instructed to be very careful, especially into turn 1 today. We all know exactly what that turn 1 can be like. And at the end of the day, we don't want to see any contact between the participants. MotorMotion E-Series is very strict on a no contact sport policy. And ensures that the racing is fair and clean as much as possible. A long season ahead. So plenty of time to make up for a poor result. You certainly don't want to have one by being rammed into or ramming into another participant. Vehicle damage here, and to the point made earlier, heavy vehicle damage is set to be on. That means if you crash, you are going to be carrying that damage into the pit stop, and you will serve time in the pit stop for repairs. Racing mediums, as I mentioned before, are the mandatory tires for this race, but you can choose to use any compound that is available, and those will be the hard tires, the soft tires, and the mediums. So it'll be interesting to see how many laps people choose to be on the mediums. The softs will be considerably faster around this windy course, and the hard tires will go for a very long time. Only one chance tonight at the 60-minute endurance race. We do have stewards that will be reviewing incidents that go on and a incident report period after the race for any incidents that occur that are either considered unfair by one of the people involved or anything that needs to be investigated post-race by the stewards. And while the use of the tires is mandatory for the racing mediums, a pit stop is not actually required. I'm going to be interested to see exactly how long these tires can be used for. Track limit penalties are set to a week, so you will accumulate penalties and you will serve them in the penalty zone. Again, lots of important notes for the drivers in their briefing regarding ensuring you are not holding people up during qualifying. We do have 2 classes, essentially your categories, running in this race, the silver and the bronze. So there will be a mix of different races. Now, any bronze category drivers that qualify or finish in the race after, or ahead of, sorry, the silver championship drivers will get extra points for finishing in front of them. So there are extra points at stake. If you do well and you're in the bronze category, you have the potential to earn a lot of points for your team. Now, I'm just noting that the driver briefing has started a couple of minutes ago, and in 2 minutes, we will be ticking over to the start of qualifying when we will finally go on board and see some action on track. So to break it down for you folks, the Silver Championship, also known as the Pro-Am. So if I do mix up the names and I say Pro-Am, I do mean the Silver Championship. 8 drivers total in the Silver Championship. Matt Kutscher, Jeff Brun, Dean van der Zandt, Ricky Rick, Aiden Sampson, Monica Camilleri, Matthew Joinson, and Sean Parker. In the Bronze Championship, running side by side in this lobby, we have Richard Robinson, Dylan Scarborough, Troy Britnell, Tim Pears, Wade Rushton, Karma Foster, and Chris White. Now, folks, I'm going to do my best to ensure that I can mention the team names as well as the driver names. Do forgive me if I make any mistakes, as there is a lot of information to get through. But stay on board. We will be going live to qualifying momentarily. The clock has ticked over to 10:15 here. That's 8:15 AEDT. And that signals the start of the qualifying period. Drivers clearly getting a briefing at the moment, getting encouraged by our race organizer to jump in and make sure they listen in closely to the driver briefing. We don't want to see any antics on track outside of good racing. A very funny joke by one of our viewers in chat, making me smile. So let's try and go through the names of the participants one more time here, folks, and I will try and get the team names associated with them as well. So from Black Rose Racing in the Silver Championship, it is Matt Kutscher. From GLR Gridline Racing, that'll be Jeff Brun. From Black Rose Racing, Matt Kutscher. Dean van der Zandt from World Touring Championship Racing. From Strike Race Tech, it's Ricky Rick. From Diffusion Race Engineering New Zealand, we've got Aiden Sampson. From NED Racing, Monica Camilleri. Matthew Joinson from Scarborough Motorsport. And our privateer, Sean Parker. And in the Bronze Championship category, we do have from Diffusion Race Engineering, Richard Robinson. From Scarborough Motorsport, it's Dylan Scarborough. From Black Rose Racing, Troy Britnell. From Strike Race Tech, Tim Pears. From Gridline Racing, Wade Rushton. Karma Foster from NED Racing. And last but not least, from the World Touring Championship Racing, it's Chris White, rounding out the bronze category tonight. 7 races total in the Bronze Championship, 17 players from the Silver Championship, plus 1 privateer, so 8 in total from the Silver category. And hopefully we will be jumping into qualifying momentarily, folks. So stay tuned, we will be with you soon. And in the meantime, Before we kick things off, we're going to run a short advert to make sure that we have a clean run all the way through qualifying for you folks. So I will be back with you soon, folks, as soon as we've got the qualifying started. Until then, we are running an advert. And so here we are with our sponsor of tonight's race and season, the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship, sponsored by Player1 Sim Gear.
Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 Sim Gear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series.
And this is it. We are starting the qualifier right now, folks. We will be jumping on board with the teams very, very soon. There we go, the players coming out onto the track. We will load up a little bit of information to make sure that we can see what's going on. Remember, do let us know if anything looks out of place. And also do let me know how the audio is sounding. Make sure we can all hear the cars out on track. On board at the moment with Monica for NED Racing. Beautiful livery sported by them in the Aston Martin V12 Vantage. Again, the cloudy nature of today's track is going to make it quite interesting for the participants. A little bit of fog, so you're not going to see as clearly as you might do on a clear day. Not quite as many obvious indicators of where things are supposed to be happening, including your braking zones. A penalty being picked up by Marty McCarty already in the Porsche 911 RSR with Scarborough Motorsport. And that is Dylan Scarborough, the team owner. Great livery they've put together, though, I have to admit. Fantastic job. A 3.8 meters per second wind down into turn one. It's going to make the braking incredibly difficult. It's already on a downhill section. So it's not ideal. It's going to mean you're going to have to brake a little bit earlier. Team's doing very well to stay out of people's way. If you get a penalty, you are not on a hot lap and you need to back out. But 20 minutes is plenty of time to get in a good time. On board now with Jeff Brun in the BMW M6. Now everyone will be using the racing softs in qualifying. You'd be foolish not to. The mandatory tires are only for the main race, folks. So no need to be holding out on the tire at all during qualifying. 60 liters has been given to all the participants for qualifying, so no need to manage that as well. But the more you can get out, the more you can drive, the lighter these cars will get. It does actually make quite a significant difference if you can get it underneath 25% of the fuel. A lighter car means easier to corner, less weight on board, easier to slide round. Going through the Schumacher S's. Very nice line through there, using all of the track width. On board with our privateer, Sean Parker, in that Mercedes, sporting quite a cool livery. Lots of MotorMotion E-Series posters on there, I can see. It's good on him. Down through turn 6. Down what is quite a short straight. It's shorter than you might imagine. Turn 7 being quite a challenging corner. It gets a lot tighter as you get through the apex on corner exit. Make sure you don't carry too much speed into it. It goes up the Schumacher S's. Again, very good line through there. These drivers having done a lot of practice on this track in preparation for tonight's 60-minute endurance race. Some time records being set. Currently a fastest lap by IMAT 99548. Dean van der Zandt for World Touring Championship Racing. They're using the Jaguar F-Type, so interesting to see that the Jaguar is already quite strong around this track. And a 54 is a very strong showing in the Silver Championship. It puts them right up to the top of that. We'll be trying to keep an eye on who's leading the bronze and the silver categories throughout qualifying. 5 minutes already gone, as we're on board with Flighty Whitey of WTC-R, World Touring Championship Racing. He'll have been getting a lot of tips from the top drivers in the team, Slapper's Mate and Aussie Hypnotic. That's Wade Von Duve, the team owner, and Ozzie Taylor, both extremely fast drivers. And just a quick note to some folks in chat, you're most welcome. Thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. I really appreciate it. Stay ready, because this qualifying is going to heat up. So Jeff Brun putting in a very, very competitive time there. Only 22 hundredths. The gap to third place behind him. And the gap, person behind him in third place, that's Match Kutcher for Black Rose Racing, the Mercedes AMG. Expecting that car to make up quite a bit of time in qualifying. Very, very fast in the straights. Not that we have too many, but if you can handle it through the corners, it really does hold. Rolls 2.0, it's Karma Foster setting a 57.3. That'll put her towards the top of the bronze category at the moment. Our privateer, though, Chops 1983, Sean Parker, doing a great job, putting himself into 4th place so far. An excellent time of a 55.275. Showing his speed and proving that there is definitely some spanners going to be thrown into the works by our privateer tonight. Going very, very wide there out of turn 4. Not the place you want to be going wide, it's penalty territory. Weak penalties on this track, you will pick up a second or a second and a half for going too wide. And we have someone spun out. Going past them now. Who is that who has spun out? Not sure if we can get on board with them anytime soon. Brits Lightning, Troy Britnell, our bronze category driver for Black Rose Racing. Doing a good job there, putting the car into 9th spot behind the Rushfire. So Wade Rushton also in the bronze category in the BMW M6 for Gridline Racing. More laps being set over and over. People doing a fantastic job. Keeping things on track, keeping things clean. And I have to say, the liveries that are on show tonight, folks, for all the teams are absolutely brilliant. Some very hard work gone into all of that over many, many weeks during the preseason, with many of these teams also competing in the pilot season beforehand. Another bronze category driver here, Richard Robinson of Diffusion Race Engineering from New Zealand. Going a little bit wide there in the BMW M6 into turn 2 and now 3. You nail the exit out of turn 4 and get a good run down the straight. Yes, a little bit slow on the exit there. Could have used a bit more track. 56.421 there, fastest lap at the moment. The field in the bronze category looking very, very close at the moment. Currently, I believe we have no bronze category drivers out qualifying anyone in the silver category with RSR Robbo. He's currently leading the bronze category in qualifying, coming up to the halfway mark. Doing well there. Some folks coming into pit for some fresher tires for the second half of qualifying. A very sensible idea. As you can see, the tires on the softs do not last that long, and they will start to fall off a cliff. And you do not want to be trying to drive around the Nurburgring with tires that are going off. Looks like we had a little bit of a glitch with that. Qualifying spectating mode. On board now with Super VT, that is Monica Camilleri for NED Racing. A beautiful Aston Martin V12 Vantage. At the back at the moment of the silver category, hopefully she'll be able to put in a faster time soon in this latter half of this qualifying. Remember folks, there is a 60-minute endurance race after this. This is the main event, will be the 60-minute race at Nurburgring GP, the inaugural race for the GT3 Championship at a cloudy Nurburgring GP track. Moving up the silver category field, we do have Marty. Who's actually a bronze category driver, so we do have one bronze category driver ahead of a silver category driver. Silver category being Super VT 2000 and Hellblazer. So both Aiden Sampson and Monica Camilleri, both currently being out-qualified by our bronze category driver, the Scarborough Motorsport and Teen Omer, Dylan Scarborough, putting in a fantastic 156.225 on his 5th lap. Can he keep up this show of form? Remember, it is worth points if you can put your car ahead of any silver category driver as a bronze category driver. Big train of cars coming down the back straight through into turn 12. We'll bear in mind that there is absolutely nothing in it from 7th place down, 67 hundredths. Between Dylan Scarborough and the Rushfire. Rushfire, of course, being Wade Rushton. Wade Rushton putting in a fantastic lap up there in his 5th lap as well, 55.6. That puts him up into 6th place, another bronze category driver. So we've got a few silver category drivers who need to put in some excellent lap times and get themselves up above these drivers. Now on track, the drivers have not been told that, so blue flags are there, but they're only there as an indication. You do not need to move over as a bronze category driver for a silver category driver behind you, even under blue flag conditions, though you do have to be careful not to block, certainly not intentionally. A fair overtake will be a fair overtake in this multi-category race. On board now with PLE Black Friday, Matthew Joinson from the silver category, the Pro-Am driver for Scarborough Motorsport. The Porsche 911 RSR doing quite well so far, I think. The MR nature of the car can make it quite tricky on corner exit. But boy, oh boy, does it have some incredible speed down the straight, and that will bring it back into contention. A 55.530 for him. Moving back up the field, that's our silver category driver, Jeff Brun. And he's put in a very good lap here, 55.222. That puts him only 34 hundredths behind our privateer, Sean Parker. A very close split here between the top 5 drivers. Coming up to 5 minutes remaining, some damage also being picked up by Jeff Brun. Not ideal in that BMW M6. Let's see if that'll compromise him. It is on the right-hand side of the car, and yes, it does look like that is compromising him a little bit. An awkward entry into the chicane there and off into the pits. Get a new set of tires and to repair that damage. Our privateer showing that he's got some serious pace, not someone to be meddled with at all, and that is Sean Parker doing a fantastic job in the Mercedes AMG GT3. Smoothly, round he goes, turn 13 and turn 14. On fresh tires as well, so this is an out lap. He'll be looking to set some nice push laps. Still only 34 hundredths ahead of the next driver, but a solid 0.4 of a second behind IMAT 99548. Dean van der Zandt of World Touring Championship Racing, WTCR, who's doing a fantastic job keeping ahead and keeping that car going smoothly and setting in some incredible laps in the Jaguar F-Type. Really good job so far from him. And it looks like Monica Camilleri has put in a fantastic lap. Got herself up into 7th place ahead of the bronze category driver, but not quite enough to put her ahead of Rushfire. That's Raid Rushton from Gridline Racing, GLR Racing. Oh, but running wide there. That will not help. Dirty tires for at least the next few corners. Certainly not ideal at turn 12 going off. Dean van der Zandt, and oh, getting slippery there. Yeah, pushing the car too much. The tires can't handle it. When you've got dirt on the tires, it's an absolute disaster. You really have to back off, kind of nurse the tires a little bit until the tire wear comes back and you feel the grip return. Quite hard to detect exactly what that point is. The current fastest lap, a 54.794, which is quite an impressive time for this track. Staying 0.4 ahead. To the back of the field we go, and it is with NED Racing. Karma Foster. Fastest lap so far, a 57.173 from her. Good lap overall. But running quite low on the fuel now. Probably only 1 lap left in it for her before she has to pit. Oh, and getting very squiggly there out of turn 1. Very easy to go wide. It loses you a lot of time. It's surprising how much time you can lose by going wide in some of these corners. A screech of the tires, as we can see. Karma loading them up, trying to gain as much as possible, pushing very hard out of turn 4. Fantastic job from NED Racers, Karma Foster. But currently in 14th place, so she'll need to improve a bit to get up the field in the bronze category. On board with Flighty Whitey, it's Chris White from World Touring Championship Racing, WTCR. The Jaguar F-Type. They've got 1 at the top and 1 at the back. A 56.744. Chris White's fastest lap there, but not good enough to get him outside of the 13th position he's currently occupying. Only 0.2 away from the next driver up, who is Brits Lightning. Troy Britnell from Black Rose Racing in that beautiful dark livery Black Rose Racing Mercedes AMG. Doing well on the last corner. You can see the fronts wearing out quite significantly. It shows how tough these cars are on the tires at this kind of track. Lots of twists and turns. making it a challenge to keep the tyres going strong. So tyre management is going to play a massive, massive factor in the race to come. Richard Robertson here in the pits. They're back on board now with the silver category driver, Monica Camilleri of NED Racing. Can she get herself up above the rush tire, the rush fire? Who is, in fact, a bronze category driver, Wade Rushton. That'll be extra points for him and his team if he can finish above Monica. So hopefully she can put in a good last couple of laps here. She will go for what? She will get time for one more push lap around this circuit. Coming up to 20 minutes of the qualifying, almost done now. Some drivers deciding that that is it. They're going to accept the results as it is. Matthew Joinson on board with him now. Porsche 911. For his last lap, 10 laps we got in here at qualifying. Very clean through turn 11. Down the long straight through the sweeping right-hander. I believe that is it. So the following, that is it for qualifying. So for Cooke 426, that is it. The qualifying is over, and it looks like Monica, let's go on board with her once more. I'm going to track her last lap here, see if she can improve at all from a 55.927. We know that she's got the talent to do this, so let's stay on board. Down she goes towards turn 13. This is where make and break corner. You can make up a lot of time here. Reasonably smooth there. The entry not so clean. Will that compromise her? She comes into turn 15, the last corner of the race. And I believe the last one across the line as well to finish out qualifying here for the inaugural race at the GT3 Championship, sponsored by Player1 MotorMotion E-Series. And that is it. She was unfortunately not able to improve her time. And that'll sit her in 7th place overall. All the drivers now licking their wounds, counting their successes. And we will be shortly moving into a 10-minute break for the drivers as well before the 60-minute endurance race starts to kick off. And we will be taking a couple of ad breaks shortly as well to make sure that we have 60 clean running minutes of beautiful track action. So well done to all the participants. We will be back into the lobby shortly. So a good job from our qualifying leader, doing some burnouts on the front of the track. Sitting there waiting out the timer. It is IMAT 99548, causing some chaos at the start of the race with all the auto-driving cars. Done a very good job from himself, Dean van der Zandt from WTC-Racing. So good job by them. Well done to all the participants. Let's have a little look at the results table. And it is, as I mentioned before, Dean van der Zandt in first place, followed by Sean Parker, our privateer. Peely Black Friday, Matthew Joinson of Scarborough Motorsport in the Porsche, doing very well to grab onto a third place, ahead of Jeff Brun. He's also done incredibly well in the M6 GT3 Sprint model. For his team, Gridline Racing, in fifth place, it is Cooke 426, Matt Kutscher. In the silver category, Black Rose Racing, Mercedes, AMG. Then we have a little bit of a mix-up with a bronze category driver coming in 6th place. So the Rushfire, Wade Rushton of GLR Racing, doing an incredibly good job to put his bronze category drive up ahead of one silver category driver. And that is Monica Camilleri of NED Racing, the Aston Martin V12 Vantage. Done very well, but fell short of the result that she really deserved at the end of the day. Then we've got Robbo, Richard Robinson of Diffusion Race Engineering, the M6 GT3 sprint model, and following up in 8th place. Followed by Brits Lightning, another bronze category driver, Troy Britnell of Black Rose Racing. In 10th place, following out the full top 10, it is Ricky Rick, and unfortunately, this is not a good result for Ricky Rick, Brits Lightning. But these things, Madrick, this is not a great result for Madrick, unfortunately. Madrick being a silver category driver. Not an ideal finish there for him. In 11th place, it's Marty McFarty, Dylan Scarborough, the owner of Scarborough Motorsport in the 911 RSR. Done well to secure the 11th place there. Hellblazer in 12th place there. Another silver category driver, Aiden Sampson. So the M6 not doing quite as well as I was expecting. There, we've got a Mercedes and an M6 silver category drivers who are down the field quite significantly. They'll be looking to make up at least 3 or 4, hopefully 4 or 5 places during the race. It might all come down to strategy at the end of the day, folks. In 13th place, we've got Flighty Whitey. Done well, bronze category driver. Chris White for World Touring Championship Racing in the Jaguar F-Type. And last but not least, Karma Foster, another bronze category driver for NED Racing. And that, folks, rounds out the qualifying session. We will be shortly jumping into the race in about 5 or 10 minutes. So in the meantime, we are going to run an advert on stream. Make sure that we have plenty of time during the race without adverts. So I will be back soon. Go and grab yourself a cup of tea. Make sure you're comfortable, folks. We will see you for the 60-minute endurance race here at the Nurburgring Grand Prix track for the inaugural opening race of the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship, sponsored by Player1 Sim Gear.
Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 Sim Gear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series.
As you can see from our race lobby host, we will be starting soon. So good luck to all the competitors. Good luck to all the teams. And we are starting our race momentarily. So hold on to your hats, folks. Here we go for 60 minutes at Nurburgring GP for the inaugural race of the MotorMotion E-Series Player1 Sim Gear GT3 Championship. Good luck to everyone in Lobby B, the Silver Championship and the Bronze Championship. Let's see how they go for a rolling start. We're going to stay on board with our qualifying pole position. That is IMAT 99548. Dean van der Zandt, followed closely by our privateer. Let's have a clean race, everyone. And it is lights out, and away we go here at the cloudy Nurburgring GP. Going to be looking to see who comes out on top at a 60-minute endurance race. We'll bring up the race information to make sure that that is available. Going down the field, looks like everyone's getting through cleanly. The cameraman not choosing the best angle for us, unfortunately. Everyone's cleared turn 1. A little bit of a off track there by Jeff Brunn. Not the way you want to start that. Definitely not at turn 3. Going off there straight onto the green concrete can be a serious problem. A little bit of overtaking action happening. We've got Brits Lightning of Black Rose Racing trying to take on Monica Camilleri of NED Racing. Getting very close there. Chosen the racing mediums to start on, so most people opting for the racing mediums, as that is the mandatory tire of the race, and we will see how long it does last. But 60 minutes is no small amount of time. We've got Richard Robertson as well in the fray between these three, trying to make something happen. But Monica doing a good job to pull a little bit of a gap. Very impressive start to the race. Nice and clean, no action that was in a negative light on track so far. An option has been chosen here, the Racing Sports by Richard Robertson, so he's decided to go and push early on. Behind them, it's Hellblazer 420. Aidan Sampson of Diffusion Racing Engineering. Marty McFardy right on his tail on the 911. Scarborough Motorsport looking to make up some positions. Can he make something happen down into turn 1? Let's see. No, decides better of it, but will they go for an old switcheroo? It's a great place to do it with a large, wide section of track to get the move done. But no luck. Very well held there by Aidan Sampson. Moving back down the field. We've got an opportunistic Aston. Sorry, Jaguar trying to make something happen. And oh, Brits Lightning for Black Rose Racing has gone off and lost himself a couple of positions there, unfortunately. Turn 4, always a bit of a trouble zone for that sort of thing. You've got to be very patient on the accelerator through that section. Kama Foster has had an incredible race start, up 2 positions, mainly due to mistakes, it appears, and we've got another off track there. And it is our silver category driver, Madrick. Dear, oh dear. Not a good start there from Ricky Rick. The Strike Race Tech has put him down into last place, and those tires, as you can see, are very dirty. They're not behaving as he wants them to. Back at the top of the race, and the distance between our race leader, Dean van der Zandt, and our privateer, Sean Parker, is staying very close, only 0.3 of a second in it. As we come into turn 13 and turn 14. Pulling out a small gap there. Dean very skilled in those last few corners. The Jaguar F-Type of the WTCR car there. Clearly performing very well in the tighter sections of the track, but it won't have the pace that the Mercedes does down the straight into turn 1. Sean Parker looking to find an opportunity to get past our race leader. Right behind them, we do have Peely Black Friday, Matthew Joinson of Scarborough Motorsport in the 911. Choosing the racing mediums for the race start, followed closely by Jeff Brunn in the BMW M6 of GLR Racing. Clipping the gravel there. Matthew Joinson. Got to be very careful, the RSR with dirty tires. It's basically like driving a train on ice skates. It'll turn, but it'll turn a lot quicker than you expect, especially if you put the power down. Getting very close there in turn 7. cloudy nature of the weather today probably throwing a few flags out on course. I'm expecting to see some yellows at some point, but clean racing so far from all the teams and drivers on board with Black Rose Racing, Matt Kutscher from the silver category. So far, the top 5 all dominated by our silver category drivers, including our privateer. Behind them, our first bronze category driver. And that is Wade Rushton of GLR Racing in the BMW M6. Fantastic job by him to get up into 6th place. Great qualifying from him in the BMW. Clearly quite a powerful, strong car. It is the sprint model, so BMW certainly haven't been holding anything back. The teams will have been practicing hard with this. Again, lots of experience within GLR Racing to draw on. Maybe that has made the difference here. A big gap behind him. Back to Richard Robinson of Diffusion Race Engineering, our only Kiwi team in the GT3 Championship for the MotorMotion E-Series. And choosing the racing softs to start off with, and that's probably why he's been able to get ahead and stay ahead of Monica from NED Racing behind him in the Aston Martin. Beautiful pink Aston Martin nonetheless. Some gravel being thrown up in the distance. Jumping down the field a little bit. Some action going on here between the BMW and the Porsche and the Aston Martin behind. And oh, that was closer. A late break there from Hellblazer, an early break from Marty. Dylan Scarborough in the 911 RSR behind Hellblazer 420. Having to back out, and that forced roll, and that's Karma Foster from NED Racing, as she had to get out of that corner very, very quickly on the brakes as soon as she saw the car ahead get all sorts of squiggly on the bit of a weird braking zone there. This is what happens when the racing gets close. The Aston does seem to have some good straight line speed, not seemingly as good in the corners, and certainly not as much top speed as that Porsche 911. We do here at this race have balance of performance on, so all these cars should be more or less equal, bar their subtle differences. We've got some MR cars, some FR cars, some cars that'll have some slightly better aero, better tire management, better fuel management. Speaking of which, we're going to go and traverse the field and see who has been using their tires a lot. And it does look like the Mercedes is not being kind to their fronts, but Brits Lightning here, Troy Britnell, our bronze category driver from Black Rose Racing. He had a spin earlier on in the race. As you can see, that has caused him to have some damage on his car. The damage in this championship lasts through the pit stop, so you have to pit to get it repaired. And that will obviously create much longer pit stop, so a change in strategy and strategic thinking here, most likely from our 13th place driver. The real loser in all of this, unfortunately at the moment, has been Magic 1972 with an unfortunate qualifying and not a great start to the race, getting wide at turn 4 and getting on the gravel. Very unfortunate start for our silver category driver Ricky Rick from Strike Race Tech. The beautiful red and yellow liveried Mercedes AMG car. Back at the top, and the gap has not really changed that much between these two. Racing still going strong. Sean Parker pushing Dean van der Zandt to use those tires to push that Jaguar as much as possible. Just a comparison between here, as you can see, now while Sean Parker has been doing a fantastic job keeping Dean honest, it has cost him a lot more in the tires, both of them on the racing softs. It has cost him a lot more on the tires. Those fronts in the Mercedes AMG running out of grip very quickly, and also using quite a bit more fuel as well. So we may see that Dean has a bit more pace in his pocket. But Sean Parker doing his absolute best to try and force an error, try and keep in that rear mirror of Dean. waving from his cockpit saying, hello, I am here. And there is pressure. This is not you going out in the front of the track and having an easy time of it, Dean. This is a challenge to your race lead. 10 minutes in we are so far of the 60-minute endurance race. In the background, we have Jeff Brun at GLR Gridline Racing doing a good job to hold on to third spot at the moment. His tire wear is pretty even across all four tires. The BMW seems to be a bit kinder on its tires than the front two cars. Looking back, though, this is the really impressive one to look at, because clearly Black Friday, Matthew Joynson of Scarborough Motorsport, and you can see the difference in tire wear between the racing softs and racing mediums. Still holding a good pace of 56.290. That's only 0.2 seconds off the fastest lap at the moment, set by our race leader Dean, which is a 56.0. So the mediums currently not showing any major degradation or loss of pace around this circuit. The question is, how long will they go for before they start to significantly drop off? Could be sooner than we expect. Behind them for Black Rose Racing, it is Matt Kutscher in the silver category, rounding out our top five, and the top five silver category drivers. He's in a bit of a no man's land at the moment, 3 seconds behind him, 3 seconds in front of him. Doing a very good job to manage the tires. You can see the mediums for the Mercedes AMG not nearly as worn out as the racing softs, so the softs taking an absolute beating by the Mercedes AMG cars, but the mediums not so much. Behind him, our first place for the bronze category. Setting a 57.0 as his fastest lap, 0.8 off the fastest medium lap we saw, but leading the bronze category nonetheless. It is Wade Rushton for Gridline Racing. So Gridline Racing having a great performance so far, 3rd and 6th for them. The BMW M6 is stronger than I thought here, to be completely honest with you, showing that it's got some incredibly good performance where it matters. From what I understand about the BMW, it may not have the top speed of the Mercedes or the Porsche, but it certainly can corner well, and in terms of the tire wear, it's doing better than the Mercedes, but not nearly as good as some other cars on the grid. The racing softs, the chosen tire by Wade Rushton. As you can see, the gap behind him actually coming down quite significantly. Richard Robinson of Diffusion Race Engineering closing the gap up. It was 3 seconds. Now we're just under, or just over, 2 seconds. He is wearing out those racing softs. Between them, the BMW is worse off, using about the same amount of fuel. Back up the top of the grid, and it looks like the battle for first place has started to spread out. A 1.6 second difference between the two. And the tire life of the Mercedes behind Sean Parker is starting to wear off quite significantly. Now a 2 second gap as he goes through turn 3. So Dean van der Zandt doing a very good job to manage his tires and his fuel at the start of this race. And we can see behind Sean Parker getting all sorts of sideways out of turn 4. That's going to compromise him quite significantly down this short straight into turn 5. Oh, and another slip as well. Those tires just not serving him well. He cannot keep up the kind of pace that he wants to. Now under pressure by Jeff Brun behind him, only 1.2 seconds. Jeff's tires looking significantly better than the Mercedes ahead of him. I think the real win at the moment goes to PLE Black Friday, the Silver Championship. Matthew Joynson doing a very good job on those medium tires. And this is the point, the crossover point between the mediums and the softs. Looks like it's about 7 laps. The mediums essentially now going to be faster than the racing softs due to the fact that they're not losing tire wear. I think due to fuel, he will end up needing to pit at about the same time. So we'll see if Matthew Joynson decides to change strategy ever so slightly. It's quite possible that he'll switch on to a racing soft. But we'll see. Quarter race distance, folks, 15 minutes through. And lots of clean racing at the track today. Very impressed by the quality of racing between all the participants. You see Wade Rushton and the BMW there. Those racing softs are going away extremely quickly from underneath him. The carpet, the proverbial carpet, so to speak, being swept out underneath him. And same for Richard Robinson of Diffusion Race Engineering behind him. Playing the long game, Monica Camilleri of NED Racing, doing a very good job just to keep the pace, to do some consistent laps, which she is doing, staying in the 58s all the way through, managing the fuel, managing the tires. Might be trying to reduce the number of pit stops overall in this race. 60 minutes, bear in mind, you can take a passive approach to strategy in a 60-minute endurance race. Doesn't have to be push, push, push all the time. Behind them, we will scroll through the field. Monica's teammate, Karma Foster, also in the Aston for NED's Racing, also putting in some consistent lap time. It's 58s, but on the softs, they're NED's Racing's bronze category driver today and for the season. The softs just not performing very well. Looks like people are trying to get to lap 11 with the softs, but they will find an increasingly large gap that gets built between them and the medium runners as they try and extend the life of those tires. Ideally, you can sync it up with your fuel stop. But over 12 seconds behind now, 41 seconds off the leader. It is Troy Britnell for the bronze category. Black Rose Racing also still holding that damage for the incident on lap 3. The Mercedes, honestly, in my opinion, the best sounding car on the grid. Lovely sounding V8. And Mad Rick. Mad Rick, unfortunately, underperforming in qualifying, but looking to make a comeback drive. This is a long race, as we've mentioned before, for Strike Racetech. He's the silver category driver. Oh, we've got a privateer, Sean Parker, going very wide there. That's going to give Jeff Brun the run down into turn 7. Can he make it? And he doesn't just make it. He actually ends up going side by side. It gives Squirrel the opportunity. Matthew Joynson in the 911 looking to take advantage, and he does get past. Very unfortunate, but as you can see, Sean Parker fighting to keep up with Dean at the race start has cost him a lot in tire life, and he is sliding all the way around the track, not able to keep the car going straight out of any of these corners. That elevates Jeff Brum up into second place for Gridline Racing, and third place for Matthew Joynson for Scarborough Motorsport in the Porsche 911. So a big mix-up happening in the top 5. And it is, the pit lane is the choice for Sean Parker. He cannot drive on those tires any longer. We will see what happens to him, what his choice is going to end up being. Now, interestingly here, the racing medium starting to take a bit of a beating. We can see the difference between the rears and the fronts for Matt Kutscher for Black Rose Racing. As I said before, the Mercedes-AMG not kind to its tires at all. And even that is starting to show on the racing medium tires. Remember, all the participants have to use the mediums. It's the only mandatory tyre, but you can use the other compounds at your discretion. Some action still going between these two, and it's bumper-to-bumper racing. Oh, and there's been contact, both of them going onto the gravel. What has gone on? Black Friday looking into the outside, but getting run into the gravel there. Both of them getting run into the gravel, Jeff and Matthew Joinson. What has gone on there? That is brought Matt Cooke, in the silver category driver for Black Rose Racing, up into this race, and oh no, Matthew Joinson with the dirty tires runs wide through turn 7, trying to get the power down, makes a mistake and lets Matt Cooke through. So he's gone from 3rd place to 4th, swerving around, trying to shake the gravel off those tires. Oh, some action happening up here. Don't know what happened between Jeff and the Porsche driver. Not ideal, but as you can see, the state of the tires is going to make it very difficult to find grip. Very unfortunate. Matthew Joinson, the big loser in all of that, on the racing mediums. And that will cost him a little bit of tire life on those. Will Jeff decide to pit? And he does. We have 2 pitters coming in. We've got our tail runner, Mad Rick, and we've got our, what was 3rd place, Jeff Brun. Now, both on the mediums, we've got Matt Cooke, and we have Matthew Joinson. Tire life pretty equal between them, but as you can see, the Mercedes is brutal on its tires in comparison to the Porsche. And all this does is help Dean van der Zandt out in front to keep building that lead. It's up to 13 seconds from 2nd place. Bear in mind, with some pit stops happening, the on-track positions and the overall race positions will start to switch around. Unfortunately, the broadcast engine for GT7 does not have an instant replay, so we cannot go back and see the incident between Matthew Joinson and Jeff Brun, which happened only moments ago. The old switcheroo there by Matthew Joinson. Beautiful move through turn 7. Doesn't make it stick, though. Matt Cooke does a great job holding on. The Mercedes running those mediums to the absolute limit. And as you can see, the racing softs, even for our leader, Dean, now falling off a cliff. Back on board with these two, with all the action is happening at the moment. Fantastic switcheroo move by Matthew Joinson. Shame that he couldn't make that stick. He'll have another opportunity down here into turn 13. Will he make a move? No, decides better off. A defensive line there from Matt Cooke, though. It's going to compromise him on exit, and he gets sideways. Doesn't compromise him too much. Will Matthew look out the outside around 10-15? No. But down the straight towards turn 1, a great opportunity here. A little bit of slipstream advantage in the 911. Both of these cars, the fastest cars in terms of top speed on the grid. So it should be equal runnings down into turn 1. Is there going to be a move? No, there's not. No, there's not. Oh, yes, there is. On the inside, Matthew Joinson, but the inside of turn 1 turns out to be the outside of turn 2. Can he make it stick around the outside? Fantastic job there by Matthew Joinson for Porsche in the Porsche. And no, he's gone wide into turn 3 and been hit. He's been hit by Matt Cooke, who does redress, but getting squiggly outside of turn 4. Oh, it's going back and forth here, folks. Keep your eyes peeled. You do not want to miss a second of this. And Matt Cooke deciding to back out a little bit there in turn 5 into turn 6. Wide line taken by Matthew Joinson. Having to go defensive, knowing that that Mercedes of Matt Cooke is right behind him, looking for the inside angle. And he goes wide again. The medium's just not putting out, even at turn 7 there for the Porsche. But a worse run through turn 7 by Matt Cooke puts him now 0.7 behind. So a good job in securing the on-track first place position. Our race leader, Dean van der Zandt, who was on the racing softs, has pitted. So technically Dean is still leading the race. but he'll have switched on to another strategy. Let's move down the field. More medium strategy runners here taking the top spots, and third is now Monica. But NED Racing doing a good job just to manage those tires incredibly well. There's hardly any degradation on them whatsoever. The Aston Martin's doing an incredible job. And beautiful drive so far by Monica. This won't be for third place position at the moment, but she is securing herself the ability to take the strategy towards the end of the race. A good job from her. Right behind, though, also on a fresh set of racing mediums, is Dean. And Dean will be wanting to set fast laps here, get himself out of traffic into clean air, and then hopefully taking the overall race lead. And that is Monica going into the pits. And that opens up Dean to put in some amazing lap times ahead of him. Right behind them, it is Marty, that is Dylan Scarborough, the owner of Scarborough Motorsport, team owner, followed closely by Diffusion Race Engineering's Aiden Sampson, who's on the mediums. They are wearing out quite significantly between both of these two. And oddly, the BMW has got some better tire life on the mediums. Oh, and you've got Dylan going very wide there. That's opened up the inside line, now the outside line in turn 4. And that will give Hellblazer the run down into turn 5 in the inside line. He's got it. You can see right on the hot on their heels is Sean Parker, our privateer. He's on fresh racing mediums, a couple of laps on them now. Setting 56s, a very impressive time going side by side. Dylan, will he be able to maybe make a move into turn 7? He does indeed. That compromises Dylan's line into turn 7. They're doing a good job to bring it back. The fight between him and Aiden Sampson, Hellblazer 420, to continue, I suspect, once Sean Parker makes his way through these two drivers. Aiden Sampson from Diffusion Race Engineering should be staying ahead, and he does go a little bit wide there. Doesn't compromise him 100%. Does a little bit down the straight, the back straight, through turn 11, 12, and into 13. This will give Sean Parker a moment to think about, going on the inside, and he does. Tries to, but doesn't break as late as Aiden Sampson and has to back out. Can he make a move happen in turn 15? Let's see. Both of them running wide, missing the apex completely. And that does give Sean Parker the 4th place. We've got Matt Kutcher now in the pits as well, switching off from those racing mediums, probably going onto a soft stint. We will see and check in with him soon. But in the lead, it is now Matthew Joinson, PLE Black Friday of Scarborough Motorsport, currently in the provisional lead of this race, still on racing mediums. He hasn't pitted yet though, folks, and only 12 seconds to this current on-track 2nd place, who is our current overall race leader, and that is Dean van der Zandt. Doing a fantastic job to keep the mediums running for that long, but is it going to be to his detriment? The 58s are creeping in for the last few laps, and he did have that disastrous issue on turn 11 when him and Jeff Brun came together and forced both of themselves off the track into the gravel pit. And that's why we're going to see Matt Kutcher be able to take advantage of that. Jumping down to the bottom of the field, we do have a very long pit stop here by Mad Rick. Ricky Rick, the silver category driver for Strike Race Tech. Looks like he's had 3 laps in a row where he's come into the pits for a very long pit stop. Not quite sure what's going on. It may be an issue with the car, something that's caused him to pull out of today's race. We'll see. We'll check back on him later in the race. Coming up to half distance, 30 minutes into our 60-minute race. On board now with the Black Rose Racing Mercedes AMG of Troy Britnell, Brits Lightning. Ahead of him is Karma Foster of NED Racing. She's been putting in some fantastically consistent laps. Has done a pit stop now onto a fresh set of racing mediums and a nice big refuel. It does look like the 1 stop is possible, so if you're able to manage it, you don't need to do 2 stops. As we are reaching half race distance now, 30 minutes through our race at a cloudy Nurburgring Grand Prix for the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship, sponsored by Player1 Sim Gear. And folks, we will have to run a short advert soon. So before all the action kicks off, we are going to run a short advert, and I will be back with you very, very soon. And just to let everyone know who is watching this race broadcast, again, the adverts that I'm speaking of are on the Twitch channel that I am streaming from. And just to bring you up to speed, anyone who's not up to speed with what's going on, I am George Cooke, your commentator for today. And this is, you are watching the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship, sponsored by Player1 Sim Racing. On board right now with Karma Foster of NED Racing in the Aston Martin V12, a beautiful car, followed closely by Marty McFly, Dylan Scarborough, who is the race owner of Scarborough Motorsport. He's done a good job this race, been involved in a little bit of a scrap earlier on in the race. He's got in for this pit stop, I believe, just recently. And here we have Hellblazer 420, Aiden Sampson, a silver category driver for Diffusion Race Engineering. Not the result he wants there, but he's just come out of the pits. We will see the grid start to switch a little bit around as we move through this race. And oh, that's Karma Foster going off, and oh, causing an incident there with Dylan Scarborough. Not ideal, redressing appropriately. So very good redressing by Karma Foster. Unfortunate to go wide there, and a bit of a bad rejoin, but these things do happen sometimes. Picking up some damage on the rear, and that will cause damage to the front diffuser of Dylan Scarborough. Not ideal at this track, because that's going to massively affect the aerodynamics of the car. A very unfortunate bit of contact there, but it did look, unfortunately, quite unavoidable for Dylan Scarborough. And that has let Aiden Sampson get away from those two. Moving up the field, it's Chris White. And he's been doing a great job in the Jaguar F-Type for World Touring Championship Racing, another Australian sim racing league and team, sorry. And he's pulling in a couple of these races ahead of him, including Monica Camilleri, who's going up the inside, or trying to, of Wade Rushton. Going on board with him now in the BMW M6 for Gridline Racing. Taking a wider line through there, giving Monica space, and she'll get a good switcheroo and a good exit through turn 4. Can she make a move? She tries to go up the inside there to turn 5, but it's not happening. So Wade Rushton doing very well. He is a bronze category driver, and Monica behind him is a silver category driver. Wade Rushton also sporting some damage on the right-hand side of his car. That's going to be slowing him down significantly. Monica only 0.1 away. Is she going to be able to send it into turn 7? Let's see. No, thinks better of it. Some very clean racing happening between these three. And oh, unfortunately behind them, Chris White running wide in the F-Type Jag. Not ideal. The Schumacher S's as they go through up the hill. Monica doing an incredible job to stay on the back of Wade Rushton. Can she make something happen? There's a long straight coming up. This will be the place to do it into turn 13 and 14. There's a little bit of slipstream as they pass the penalty line. Staying on board with these two, and we will jump back to the top of the field shortly and check out what's happening up there. The order at the top is starting to sort itself out. Most people have done at least one pit stop now. Some have done 2. And it does look like Mad Rick has gone out of the race, not expecting to perform throughout this championship, as Monica makes a dive on the inside, but she's not going to go. It's not going to fly, unfortunately. Wade Rushton closing her off a little bit, but running wide himself. Definitely an action-packed little scrap between these two. Moving up the field to Jeff Brun here. We do have a car that went suddenly off there. What has happened between him and Matt Kutscher? Something has happened. We've just missed it, folks, but some damage to the right front of Jeff Brun's car. No damage to Matt Kutscher here. It may have been a penalty being served. Something has happened between those two that's caused Matt Kutscher to go flying off the track. And he has chosen the racing mediums appropriately for the second half of this race. But that damage for Jeff Bruin, that's going to absolutely ruin his race. A silver category driver for Gridline Racing. Now under pressure by Richard Robinson, a silver category driver for Gridline Racing. Oh, sorry, that's Richard Robinson of the bronze category for Diffusion Race Engineering. And remember, extra points for bronze category drivers if they finish ahead of silver category drivers. So currently, on track as it stands right now, Richard Robinson leading the bronze category ahead of several silver category drivers. So an incredible drive by Richard Robinson of Diffusion Race Engineering so far in the BMW M6. Well done to him, setting him some reasonably consistent laps. That last lap of his, a 57.6, very impressive. And speaking of lap times, we do have the fastest lap of the race, a 55.8 from our race leader. That's Dean van der Zandt, who has gone onto the medium tyres strategy for his second stint, probably looking to make that last for the entirety of the rest of the race. He's got a big gap to Sean Parker behind him, who's also on the racing mediums, but another 25 minutes to do on those medium tyres may force him to pit again. In fact, he's definitely not got enough fuel to make it that entire race distance, pushing hard, Sean Parker, to try and keep up with our leader. But as a privateer, not racing for a team, he's been doing very, very well, so congrats to him so far, showing his speed at the Nurburgring Grand Prix. Behind them, involved in a few incidents, and now having completed what will likely be his only pit stop of the race. It is Peely Black Friday, Matthew Joinson, Scarborough Racing, putting in an excellent performance for his team, and team owner, who is down at the bottom of the field at the moment. Based on his fuel, it looks like he's going to the end of the race quite happily. If he can consolidate a third-place finish, that'll be an excellent finish on the podium for Scarborough Motorsport in the first race of the season. Definitely worth some points. Behind him for Black Rose Racing, it's Matt Kutscher. Again, doing well to manage his tyres, although he has pitted recently. He's got to make sure that he makes that fuel last this entire race, though. We've still got another 23 minutes in here before we get the checkered flag. We go down the field. Jeff Bruin, who had a disaster just before in the previous lap, picking up some damage and ruining his tires, unfortunately down as the 6th place. He was looking strong for a potential podium finish for Gridline Racing, but it's not to be. As we go back down the field, it's Monica Camilleri. She's doing a very good job to hold off Chris White. Chris White is in the bronze category. Second place in the bronze category at the moment. And he'll want to get ahead of Monica because that is worth extra points for him on track. On the medium strategy, with Monica deciding to go on the racing softs. Now, I'm not sure if she's going to last the entire rest of the race. 20 minutes to go. It's going to be at least another 10 laps. We know that you can manage the softs for 10 laps, but they do start to fall off a cliff after lap 7. So a risky strategy here by Monica, trying the one stop. Will she be able to make it work? She has proven that she has the race skills and the strategy knowledge to make that work. We will keep an eye on her throughout the rest of this race. A little train of drivers here from 6th down to 9th, all looking to pick up some points. Most of them are bronze category drivers, so they're all chasing after Monica and hoping to get ahead of her for those extra points. So manage their tyres well, and they might have a shot in the last part of this race. Wade Rushton here on board with him. The BMW M6 picking up some damage earlier, and now a penalty. So it must have run wide somewhere earlier in the track. That's going to bring Hellblazer behind him into the frayer thing. Adam Simpson in the silver category driver, currently providing points for the bronze category drivers ahead of him, needs a recovery drive at this stage, and it looks like he's going to go to the end based on the strategy at the moment. And a little bit of a bias moment here. Potentially a bit of a commentator's curse, I hope not. Go, little New Zealand drivers, let's go. All right, now back to the action. The penalty being served by Wade Rushton, and that has put him into 10th place now in the bottom 3 or 4 cars of this race. Not an ideal situation, and he is decided to pit. He's going to pit, he's going to get some more fuel, change those tires for the last 20 minutes of the race and repair that damage. Behind them, still with some damage for the unfortunate incident that just happened between her and Dylan Scarborough, who's in 12th place. The 11th place car of Karma Foster on the racing mediums, looking to go to the end. Those tires will easily make it, but I'm worried about the amount of fuel that she's got on board, especially towards the end when people may be pushing a little bit harder than they have been earlier. But on board now with Dylan Scarborough of Scarborough Motorsport in the Porsche 911. Fantastic car this, and it's proved that it's got incredible top speed. But that damage incurred between him and Karma when Karma went slightly off and blocked the track on re-entry. That caused Dylan to run right into the back of her. That front diffuser is going to cost him a lot of aero at the front. I'm, very afraid for the amount of aero that he has lost on that car. It is something that makes the Porsche a viable car in the Group 3 category. It's the aero that it puts out, because it is an understeery and oversteery car, and it really makes up for it only with the aero and its top speed. And in the pits again, hold on, we've got another pit here by our race leader, or former race leader, IMAT. Not 100% sure why he's decided to come in. I think he might be switching to a racing soft strategy, excuse me, for the vocal mix-up there, folks. That has unleashed Sean Parker, our privateer, not racing with the team, in the Silver Championship category. It's opened him up for a few clean laps, but it looks like he's going to need to come in for a second pit stop soon. So some drivers opting for the 2-stop, which is interesting. It does look like you could have made a 1-stop strategy work. Now, judging by some of the other drivers here, we are losing upwards of 20 seconds, or just under 20 seconds, in the pit lane. And for drivers like Matthew Joynson here, on board with him, PLE Black Friday, that is going to create a serious opportunity for a podium position, potentially a second or a first place position. If he can manage this really, really well, he's saved himself 20-second pit stop essentially in this race by only doing a 1-stop. Fantastic work by him. And you can see Dean, our previous race leader, out again on the softs, refueled with enough to get to the end of the race. Coming up to 3/4 race distance now. Doing an absolutely brilliant job. Dean has been this whole race. He's pulled out many a big gap in the clean air that he's managed to get himself into at the front of the grid, qualifying in pole as well. So it's all his to throw away this race, and I'm not sure why he decided to go onto the racing mediums. He could have consolidated some of that with a 1-stop strategy and a fuel map change, but we'll see if this works out for him. Behind him, it's Matt Kutscher for Black Rose Racing, doing a really good job to manage his medium tires. He's got plenty to get to the end of the race, but currently only 4th spot and 9 seconds behind 3rd place, so unlikely to see him get on the podium today. Silver category driver. We're going to see Dean pushing like crazy, and as we can see there, we've got Sean Parker, sorry, our privateer, Chops 1983, in the pits now. That puts him behind Dean, which is exactly where he was before Dean did his second stop. We'll see where Sean Parker comes out. Is it in front of Matt Kutscher, or is it behind? It currently looks like he's behind, and it is. Opting for the soft strategy. He's not too far behind. He's only 1.1 seconds behind Matt Kutscher, so we could see the top 5 race of the top 5 start to heat up significantly, but we will, as you can tell, start to see the provisional positions disappear and the on-track positions bed themselves in. And as I said before, Matthew Joynson done an incredible job to get himself up into essentially not even provisional, but on-track position, 1st place in this race, opting for the 1-stop strategy. So excellent choices by him in the pit lane, keeping himself ahead, and now he's in the lead of our race as he goes through the Schumacher S's, up the hill, and starts the downward climb down towards the end of the track. A 5.1 kilometer track here, 15 turns, most of them consecutive, only several long straights to be had. I believe the Porsche will have the straight line advantage, but the slipstream very strong from the Jaguar. Dean's Jaguar behind him. For WTCR, he's done an incredible job to keep that on track there, very close to the grass on the left-hand side, using all the track available. Excellent racing from him. Will he have the ability to go down the inside here into turn one? Let's see. No, thinks better of it. They've got plenty of time, 15 minutes remaining in this race, everyone. 3/4 race distance. Very wide line from Matthew Joynson. He's feeling the pressure of Dean van der Zandt on the back of his neck. Excellent work between the two, and on board now is Sean Parker, who has found his way past Matt Kutscher, who's starting to struggle on the medium tires. He's going to the end on a one-stop strategy, but unfortunately for him, looks like a mistake has happened or some contact potentially between the two. No damage on either car, but the racing softs from Sean Parker. And actually, with Dean being now held up on the racing line by Matthew Joynson, that is going to potentially give Sean Parker the ability, or the opportunity, I should say, to catch back up with these two and potentially challenge for a second-place spot. If Matthew Joynson, PLE Black Friday, doesn't give up the first spot, then potentially going to have to be fighting off Sean Parker for third spot. For the second spot place, I mean, sorry. Very close between these two. We are going to stay on board for the moment and see what happens between these two races as they go down towards turn 13, and it is Dean up the inside. Late braking from Matthew Joynson. Can he make something happen with another old switcheroo? He does. It's a bad exit there for Dean. He's done incredibly well to hold on to it. Well done, Matthew Joynson. As they go into turn 15, will there be another switcheroo here by Dean, getting a good run out of turn 15, down the pit straight towards the first corner. It's a very defensive line by Matthew Joynson. Can he make it stick? This could be a big switcheroo by Dean. Opportunity here to get ahead. And no, it's not. Matthew Joynson on the medium tires doing incredibly well to hold off an incredibly powerful assault here by Dean van der Zandt, looking to get back into first place and consolidate that race victory. But at the moment, race victory currently, as it stands, would go to Matthew Joynson, but a bad exit there from turn 4. It's going to open up turn 5 for Dean, and decides better of it. Fuel not an issue for either of these drivers, managing their strategy incredibly well. But it is now down to Scarborough Motorsports versus WTCR Racing. More defensive driving, defensive line driving by Matthew Joynson, doing an incredible job to stave off Dean, who has been unequivocally the fastest driver of the day so far. Dean putting it into P1 for qualifying, and PLE Black Friday further down the field. I suspect here again 12 minutes to go in this race, so still another 5 or 6 laps to get the job done. Dean's not interested in making something happen without it being clean and fair, and Matthew Joynson holding on for dear life to that first position. This is a fantastic battle in first and second. They're absolutely loving what's going on, and great, fair, clean racing between these two so far. Oh, Dean getting squiggly on the exit there. The racing softs, they've got a great edge, but after the 4 or 5 laps, they do start to fall off, and then they really do fall off after 7 laps. And we will be going past that point for Dean's tires towards the end of the race. Oh, but he's got another run down the straight, not using the slipstream, which is what they've been advised to do. So fantastic adherence to the rules by both of these drivers. Matthew Joynson parking in on the apex, not letting up any room at all for Dean to go in. A wide line in to turn 3 for Matthew Joynson, Scarborough Motorsport. Again, just holding and closing off the apexes every time Dean thinks that he can get up the inside or go around the outside. Matthew Joynson is just closing it off, forcing Dean to go around the long way. And that is just absolutely brilliant racing by these two. Note, going down the field, Sean Parker is unlikely to catch up 12 seconds behind him, even on his racing softs, which will start to go off. Both of our leaders here, first and second place, getting on the gravel, pushing it to the absolute limits. Forced to the outside again is Dean. No opportunity for the switcheroo. Fantastic defensive driving by PLE Black Friday. Matthew Joynson for Scarborough Motorsport. Incredibly impressive to be able to hold off a faster driver behind him for so long. Both of them silver category drivers. So this is for the silver category championship victory here at Nurburgring GP. Let's hope this continues for the next 10 minutes, as we are now 9 minutes, in fact, to the end of this 60-minute race. It's been an absolute banger start for the season one. And oh, to the outside goes Dean into turn 13. Can he make something stick? They're both braking at the same time. The Porsche hangs it out, but it's going to compromise Matthew Joynson's line. But no, Dean gets a little bit squiggly on the exit once again. The Jaguar F-Type does not enjoy turn 13 or 14 at all. Having to ride the curbs is not its favorite. The Porsche eating them up, despite the defensive and compromised line that Matthew Joynson had to take. Absolutely eating the curbs. And we will keep a very, very close eye on this battle, but quickly switching down the field to see if we've got any action anywhere else. We've got Jeff Brunn in 7th place, trying to get ahead of Richard Robinson for Diffusion Race Engineering. And that is a bronze category driver on board with now, and a silver category driver behind him. So extra points for Richard there. Behind them, Monica, who's done an incredible job to get back up into 8th place. Some good strategy calls there on the racing softs now, trying to push and get past Jeff Brunn. Behind them, moving down, the rush fire for GLR. We've got WTCR driver Chris White as well. Dylan Scarborough in 11th place, followed by Karma Foster for NED Racing. And for Black Rose Racing, it is Blitz Lightning. That's Troy Britnell. And out of this race still is Mad Rick, who's had an absolute disaster of the evening. Ricky Rick, the silver category driver from Strike. So technically speaking, all the bronze category drivers will get some extra points for finishing ahead of Ricky Rick. The very unfortunate finish there. Not the season start that they would want for Strike Race Tech. And I'm also wondering, I don't see Tim Pears on the grid. I'm wondering if something has happened during the start of the lobby or earlier, because we've only got 14 in total on the grid. And I do not see Tim Pears as I go up the grid here. Let's stay on board with our race leader, Matthew Joynson, and it's going to be more defensive driving here. Great job by Dean, just biding his time. Those medium tires for Matthew Joynson in the lead at the moment, starting to wear out. And they are not going to last forever, but they will last longer than Dean's racing softs, which are coming towards their 6th lap. And that's where I said earlier, we do find that the racing softs start to fall off at the lap 7 point. So 1 lap away from that. Can he make something happen down to turn 1? No. Tries to go for the outside line. Oh, brilliant job. Tries for the switcheroo as well, but nothing in it. Can he go and get up the inside? The wide line favored into turn 2 by Matthew Joynson. He'll need to be very careful about opening up the space there into these corners, because it'll be an opportunity to Dean to slip his nose in down the inside on exit. Oh, and a great exit for Dean. This is going to give him the run into turn 5. Can he make something happen here? He's been very sensible, Dean. Lots of opportunities to overtake, and the pressure is mounting on Matthew Joynson as he almost runs wide into turn 6. Oh, and that's going to allow Dean once again to go up the outside. Thinks better of it once again. The Porsche has the better acceleration out of the corners for sure. One of the top cars in terms of performance in this Group 3 category, GT3 category. Certainly superior to the Jaguar behind him, but with the racing mediums, you can just tell how good a job Matthew Joynson is doing versus Dean behind him on the racing softs. It's incredible driving between these two. And oh, a penalty picked up by Dean, a 0.5 second penalty. That's going to put him with a lot of work to do. to catch back up with PLE Friday, especially considering those racing softs are starting to go off, and that might just be evidence of that exact fact. Now slightly dropping off the back of Matthew Joynson, not ideal. The penalty will be served next lap, around midway through the lap, which is probably one of the worst places to serve it, so he's not just going to lose 0.5, he will be losing a little bit more than that. Apologies, trying to go up to the onboard for Black Friday here, who is going to be looking in his mirror, seeing that penalty and rejoicing at the pressure that is about to come off his shoulders. It's now or never for Dean. He's got to make a move on Matthew Joynson here. He's got to find a way around him, because that penalty is going to put him behind. Does he look down the inside for turn 3? Oh, there's space there. Does he get a nose in? He does get a nose in. That forces Matthew Joynson to give him space into turn 4, but the exit is good for Matthew Joynson. But that was a bit wide. Is there going to be a penalty for going that wide? Let's see. Dean is making every move he can now. He's got to take a few risks. Crikey, Nora. We do have some alternatives here for the camera choice, so let's go on board briefly. We're going to go with this view here, which we do love, and see if anything is about to happen. He's going to serve his penalty after the Schumacher S's, I believe, so get ready for a little drop-off. And can Dean make something happen? Apologies, the penalty line is actually after this turn. There it is, down the long back straight, serving the penalty now. That opens up Matthew Joynson, the gap increasing 0.5, 0.6, 0.7 nearly. So not a huge penalty, the 0.5, but it's enough to make a difference. Now Dean's got to push, because we are at 57 minutes into this race, 3 minutes left to go. That is 2 laps remaining, folks. Strap in, get your seatbelts on, because we are coming up to the last parts of this championship race, the inaugural race in this championship, GT3 Championship. Jumping back the field, all this infighting between the top 2 has given our privateer, Sean Parker, the ability to close up the gap a little bit, but still 10 seconds behind, so no luck for him there. But the real interesting fight is happening up front. I will quickly jump down the field. Matt Kutscher here, doing well, but struggling on those mediums. Hellblazer doing well to hold off Richard Robinson, but teammates here, so not going to see too much fighting between these two. A fifth and sixth place finish between these two, so well done to them. Monica, who's gotten ahead of Jeff Brun behind on the racing soft strategy, so doing very, very well. For NED's Racing, a 7th place finish, a very strong showing for her. Jeff, unfortunately, involved in some incidents earlier on that's compromised his race. The racing soft going off as well, not providing the grip that he was keen for. Chris White for WTCC, GLR Racing's Rushfire, Karma Foster for NED's Racing in 11th spot, followed by Dylan Scarborough for Scarborough Motorsport. And following up with Black Rose Racing, it is Troy Britnell in the bronze category. And we do actually have Madrick back on the track, but he is a very, very long way behind. Well over 20 minutes. He probably should be just staying in the pits, but nonetheless out on track to have some fun. Hopefully he doesn't interfere with anything happening on track. Potentially some life event in the cockpit causing him to have to back out. But the race that we really want to see, folks, is happening right now, right in front of us, between Matthew Joynson for Scarborough Motorsport PLE Black Friday in the Porsche 911 RSR versus our previous race leader and qualifying pole position, IMAT 99548, and that is Dean van der Zandt for WTC-Racing. He's going up the inside into turn 1. Has he made the move happen? It looks like he's got ahead. A fantastic exit out of turn 15. Can Matthew Joynson force him up? Oh, there's contact between the two. Oh dear, oh dear. The inside belonged to Dean there, but he left a little bit of room, and Matthew Joynson decided to try and get that position back. Can he make something happen here? The racing medium's going off, and the racing softs both going off. Both of them running low on fuel as well, but we are on the last lap of this race. Crikey, it is all popping off at the end of this race. Unfortunate for Matthew Joynson, who loses out. He was holding first place there so well from Dean. But Dean managed to make the move on the pit straight into turn one. A little bit of contact between the two there, but nothing more than a racing incident. The racing softs just got just a little bit enough of life in them to make that move happen. And at this stage, I'd say those racing mediums are almost useless in terms of catching up with Dean having clean air behind him. That is in front of him. That is not going to provide any kind of opportunity for Matthew Joynson here. I've been saying Johnson, my fault. Apologies to Matthew Joynson. Matthew Joynson here is not going to have the opportunity, I don't think, at this stage to get back in front of Dean, who's raced very cleanly and very fairly right up until the very end. Incredible job there. The WTCR racer, the silver category winner today, is going to be Dean van der Zandt, assuming we don't have any more incidents, as he goes into the penultimate corners of this race. And that is a solid P2 there from Matthew Joynson. Congratulations to him for Scarborough Motorsport. And in third place, it will be Black Rose Racing's, privateer in the silver category. And that is Chops 1983. And that is the race done. 1 hour, 60 minutes, all done, wrapped up. Your top three, third place coming across the line, fourth place to Matt Kutcher of Black Rose Racing. Congratulations to him. Hellblazer having done a fantastic race there as well. Aidan Sampson, the silver category, Diffusion Race Engineering. So a fantastic race to those guys. I've just got to put, that was a great race, well done. And now let's look at the results screen. Congratulations to everyone in Lobby B, Group B, for this opening inaugural race in the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship. Running through the field here in fifth place, we've got Hellblazer 420 for Diffusion Race Engineering, one of the Kiwis on the grid. Aidan Sampson in the silver category doing incredibly well. And then followed there by a bronze category. Our bronze category winner today is going to be Richard Robinson, RSR Robbo Sport, in the M6, teammate of Hellblazer 420, Aidan Sampson. So a fifth and sixth position finish there for Diffusion Race Engineering. An incredibly good result for them today. The bronze category driver who has won the bronze category today is Richard Robinson in sixth place. Congratulations to him. And he finishes ahead of several silver category drivers as well, which is going to bag him a bunch of extra points for the team. So incredibly well driven by him. In seventh place, it's Monica Camilleri, done incredibly well. Super VT 2000 for NED Racing in the V12 Vantage. Good overall race for her, incredibly well thought out strategy and very clean racing from her. Really impressed with her drive today, and that'll bag a bunch of points for NED Racing at the start of the season. Congratulations to her. Jeff Brun in eighth place, Squirrel 18, our race host in the M6 GT3 for GLR Gridline Racing. Had a bit of a mixed race, unfortunately, mixed bag for him. Some corners, he had an incident with Peely Black Friday, Mac Joynson, who ended up in second place. And that unfortunately did cause him to lose out significant amounts of time and take on some damage for the race, which has basically compromised him for the rest of the race. He would have been up there, potentially a third position finish for him, but unfortunately down in eighth place. Moving into the rear of the grid, it is Flighty Whitey, Chris White, in the F-Type Jaguar for WTCR Racing. His counterpart, Dean van der Zandt, has won the race. But overall, a good race from Chris White, keeping it pretty clean on track, and a best lap of 1:57.0. Rounding out the top 10, it is the Rushfire, and that is Wade Rushton, the Gridline Racing, a bronze category driver there. In the V12, in the M6 GT3, my apologies, having a fantastic race overall, a good fastest lap for him, a 56.8, showing that he's got more speed than maybe shown by his bronze category entrance and participation. In 11th place for NED's Racing, it is Rolls 2-0, Karma Foster. A good race for her overall. She qualified near the bottom of the grid, so to gain a couple of positions, I think overall that's a win for her and her team. Very, very good job and managing the strategy incredibly well. I will make a note that Karma Foster was putting in some of the most consistent laps of the grid. 58s after 58s after 58s. They may not be the fastest times, but they are the most consistent. So definitely one of the most consistent drivers on the grid, Karma Foster. Hats off to her drive today and her teammate, Monica Camilleri for NED Racing. In 12th place for Scarborough's Motorsport, it is Dylan Scarborough. His teammate PLE Black Friday in the 911 Porsche, proving what that car can do, but unfortunately Dylan not able to get anything above 12th place, but overall a good race from him, taking some front splitter damage during the race, which was very unfortunate, and that did compromise his aero ability on the car. And but overall, good strategy from him, and he'll be proud as a team owner for the second and near first place finish for his silver category teammate, Matthew Joinson, who got second place. 13th place, it's Brits Lightning, Troy Britnell of Black Rose Racing in the Mercedes AMG. Overall, an unfortunate race for him. Turn 1 incident caused him to spin out and enter the gravel, and that just compromised him for the rest of the race, unfortunately. A good comeback drive to bring himself within range of the 12th and 11th positions, but nonetheless, an unfortunate result and not a great start there for Black Rose Racing. They will bemoan this first race in the bronze category. And last but not least, and a very unfortunate story here, qualifying very far down the field, Mad Rick, unfortunately was unable to participate in most of the race. A silver category driver, Ricky Rick of Strike Race Tech in the Mercedes AMG. His teammate, either a no-show or an unfortunate disconnect from this lobby. Not a great showing for Strike Race Tech this time round, unfortunately. So my heart goes out to that team and to Ricky Rick as a driver as well. Very unfortunate. Hopefully we get to see his skills shine in the next race, the MotorMotion E-Series. And that is your finishing grid here, folks. It has been an absolutely fantastic race. A lot of action, especially towards the end. And there is a Twitch ad in progress, so hopefully that will end soon and we will get back to the commentary. Typical Twitch. I will have to sort out a solution for this another time, and we will start rounding out the stream. So while we are in this position, a quick word from the sponsor of the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship, Player1 Sim Gear.
Level up your sim racing experience with Player1 Sim Gear. Shop the biggest brands and the best range today. Player1 Sim Gear, official sponsors of MotorMotion E-Series.
So back on board, 25 seconds left in the Twitch advert, which will go off very, very soon. But just a recap, we will have a decision around the driver of the day. And at this stage, my vote on driver of the day is going to have to be PLE Black Friday of Scarborough Motorsport. Didn't qualify very high in the rankings and done a fantastic drive. Well done on the strategy. Involved in an incident, unfortunately, but his overall defensive driving there against Dean van der Vaart has been an absolute spectacular show of racecraft, and my hat's off to him. He's done an incredible drive today to secure first place, and he nearly secured first place as well. It was looking so close, he just unfortunately wasn't able to hold on to it in the last lap down the pit straight. But my driver of the day, folks, and please put your driver of the day into chat. I'd love to hear and see what everyone else thinks as well in chat. Do let me know who your driver of the day is. For me, it has to be Matthew Joinson, PLE Black Friday. He's done an incredible job at the racecourse today. I will also be saving the replay just to make sure that we do have the result. And welcome into everyone in chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone in chat who's been sending messages and sending some compliments. I really, really appreciate it. And we do have a raid as well from HC Lewis. I hope your race went well, mate. So big thank you to HC Lewis there for the raid. We will start rounding out today's stream as well, so we'll probably end up sending you guys over to another area for the raid. But thank you so much for the raid, Lewis. Let me give you a quick shout out here. And HC Lewis getting P1 in Group A in the Group A lobby. Congratulations, mate. Well done indeed. And I will start rounding out the stream now. So again, big shout out there to Lewis. Well done. Good stuff, mate, my friend. And that'll be making your team, NED Racing, very proud. A very good showing for NED Racing today overall, and obviously in the Group A lobby as well. So congratulations to them overall. They certainly bagged a few incredibly good races for their team this season. And folks, it has been my absolute pleasure bringing you the commentary tonight for Lobby B, the Silver Championship and Bronze Championship, for the MotorMotion E-Series GT3 Championship, sponsored by Player1 Sim Gear. And this is Crazy Good Kung Fu. My name is George Cooke. It's been an absolute pleasure bringing you the commentary from the commentary booth tonight at the Nurburgring GP. And we will be signing out there, folks. Take care, stay safe, and we will catch you all next time. I will be doing a raid out, so stick around, and I will see you all soon. Thank you very much, and congratulations to all the teams and drivers.